afternoon, everyone. Let me start by saying nobody on the Republican side in the Senate has been more enthusiastically supporting the idea of a comprehensive supplemental that deals with Ukraine, Israel, and Taiwan. We want that to pass. But while we're talking about borders, my advice to the majority leader last week was, if you don't believe how serious we are about this, then file cloture. And so I'm advocating, and I hope all of our members vote no on the motion to proceed to the shell, to make the point, hopefully for the final time, that we insist on meaningful changes to the border. James Lankford, I designated to be the lead on this, but we've had a number of members who have been involved in it over the years without much success. Now is the time to pay attention to our own border, in addition to these other important international concerns.
On that point, to paraphrase, I should say, Ronald Reagan, a nation that can't control its borders can't control its destiny. And I don't know how any Democrat can defend what's happening at our southern border right now. Literally 10,000 people a day being apprehended trying to come into the country illegally. And if you go even back to the Obama era, Jay Johnson, who was DHS Secretary under Obama, said 1,000 a day would be overwhelming to the system and that he couldn't even comprehend trying to deal with 4,000 a day. We have now literally 10,000 people every single day being apprehended illegally at our southern border, trying to come into the country illegally. That is a national security crisis that has to be dealt with. The Democrats just apparently don't have any interest in fixing it, but Republicans have serious solutions, policy solutions that get at the fundamental issue, and that is to slow the flow of people coming into this country illegally and to deal with what clearly we now know is a national security threat. We have people every month that are being apprehended at our southern border who are on the terrorist watch list. And that is a huge problem and a very dangerous problem for our country. And so as we think about a national security supplemental appropriations bill, and as the leader pointed out, there are many of us who are very supportive of a package. That package has to deal with the national security crisis that we are facing now on a daily basis at our southern border, and hopefully the vote this week, as Republicans stand together on that, will be evidence and get the Democrats in a serious and meaningful way to the table to address what is a crisis.
The message from Republicans to the President of the United States is this: there will not be a national security bill unless and until there are serious and significant changes in security at our southern border. The White House has to become actively and consequentially engaged in changing what is happening right now at the southern border. Republicans and Democrats have totally different views on what's needed at the southern border. Republicans will tell you we need to stop the flood of illegal immigrants coming into this country and send them back. Democrats want to wave them through in record numbers. 10,000 yesterday. Some days 8,000, 9,000, 10,000, day after day from all around the world. Our southern border is now the most dangerous border in the world. Criminals, drug dealers, terror suspects. It has become a magnet for those people to our southern border. And what do Democrats want to do? Money to sanctuary cities. Government benefits to illegal immigrants. That's not going to solve the problem. That's going to make it worse. It's going to incentivize more people to come here illegally. We know what we need. We need more Border Patrol agents on the southern border who have the power to actually enforce the law. We need to keep illegal immigrants out and keep our communities safe. Communities all across this country are suffering under the burden of these terrible, disastrous Biden and Democrat border policies. Any national security legislation has to have as a key component securing the southern border. So Chuck Schumer can bring a bill to the floor of the Senate. If it doesn't include what we need on border security, it will fail. Republicans will vote against it.
Okay, before I get into my other comments, I just want to remind everybody that this Saturday is the Army-Navy football game, also known as America's Game. And one of my favorite posts, and I'll repeat it because I think it's worth repeating, is that every one of those young men that will be playing out on that field in Gillette Stadium, those midshipmen and those cadets, every last one of them, they are willing to die for every last one of us that will be watching the game on Saturday. So let's not forget them as they play America's Game. Okay, and you don't have to wonder what side I'm on either. Go Army, beat Navy. But anyway, while it's not the night before Christmas quite yet, there's not a creature stirring, not even a mouse, in the halls across this city. So COVID temporarily shut down a lot of our agencies here in Washington, D.C., closed all those federal buildings 4 years ago. But today, not a single agency has an occupancy rate of even 50%. That's abysmal. So the Biden administration really doesn't want the public to see the naughty list of no-shows, but I'm going to show you it today. And this is information that we actually did get through a request with the Biden administration. So here is our naughty list of no-shows. Okay, topping the list, HUD and Social Security Administration, they are using just 7% of their office space. Buying and renting, of course, is a whole lot more expensive. Okay, my staff wrote that, but I thought it was good. And but no one's home at HUD. Okay, take a look at that, folks. COVID's been over for years. Where are the workers? And if we're not going to fill up, we're not going to go actually work within these agencies, then maybe we need to get rid of this space, because it does cost a lot to rent these buildings in Washington, D.C. or own them. So if we're not going to bring workers back, folks, let's get rid of this space. It's costing our taxpayers a lot of money. So again, proposal, if we're not going to use it, let's lose it. Okay, naughty list. Thank you.
Well, good afternoon, everybody. So I bring my poster so Joni has a scroll. I mean, she's killing me. But my poster is a quote from none other than our climate czar, John Kennedy, who's over in Dubai. John Kerry, excuse me. Well, John Kerry. That scroll really got me. John Kerry says no coal plants shall be permitted anywhere in the world. He's in Dubai telling everybody that he himself and this administration will shut down and no longer permit, which there's no coal-fired power plants being built anyway, but won't be permitted, but they will be shut down by 2030. There's no plan to replace. These are empty promises that he's taking to the world community in the name of being the climate czar for our great country. And even nuclear, which could replace some baseload desires across this country, power needs, can't get permitted, isn't being moved, and there's no new nuclear plants online at this point. So if you say to yourself, who does this really affect? It affects a heck of a lot of our states. So my state of West Virginia, no surprise here, 90% of our electric generation, power generation, is from coal. Missouri, 74%. Kentucky, 73%. Wyoming, 73%. Utah, 61%. Indiana, 57%. Nebraska, 49%. Montana, 43%. Colorado, 41%. Basically what the administration is saying, that in 6 years, over half of the energy production that you have in your state for power generation will be stopped under this administration's policies and Clean Power Plan 2.0. This is unrealistic, it's unachievable, and it makes absolutely no sense at all. Much like their EV car mandate. Nobody here is against electric vehicles, none of us. But you know what? We put $7.5 billion into the IIJA to make sure that we had electric charging stations to meet the mandate of the new EVs. In 2 years, how much of that money's been spent? Zero. How many electric chargers have been put all across our country? None. These are empty promises, unachievable goals. So I would say to you that while they hope, and John Kerry is hoping that this occurs and is trying to lead the world into believing it will occur, hope is not a strategy, Mr. Kerry.
So to help frame this current debate on the supplemental bill, I think my colleagues on the other side of the aisle have a misunderstanding. This is not about reaching a bipartisan compromise on immigration reform. There have been debates about that in the past. There'll be debates about that in the future. That's not what this debate's about. This is fundamentally a national security issue. This is about changes that need to be made to protect the homeland, to protect our southern border. And I hear it all the time when I'm back home in Montana, including this past weekend. We need to secure our southern border now. Everybody knows, and the stats show it, this border is a crisis of President Biden's own making. It is certainly his actions that have created this mess on the southern border. The question now is, will Senate Democrats going to get serious about solving the problem that President Biden has created? The record-breaking numbers continue every day, every week. You've heard them. What concerns me are the number of apprehensions made of those on the FBI's terror watch list from countries designated as state sponsors of terror. And just when we thought we'd heard the worst of it, here's one more story to build on why we need to solve the problem on the southern border. We just learned that the VA healthcare resources, the VA, are being used to facilitate health care to illegal migrants. Veterans have a hard enough time getting the care that they need, and now they have to compete with illegal immigrants? This will not fix the border crisis. Biden's border crisis puts illegal immigrants first. It puts our veterans last. You know, in Montana, we have the second highest per capita veteran population in the United States. This is a disservice to all those who have sacrificed and served our country. We as Republicans want to solve this problem. Joe Biden and Senate Democrats need to step up, get serious, and pass border security measures. The time is now. We need policy changes. It's about tightening asylum standards and reining in DHS's parole powers.
Leader McConnell. Leader McConnell.
I doubt if you missed it, but we're serious about having some significant changes in how we protect our southern border as a part of the overall package.
Leader McConnell,
Chad.
thank you. Good afternoon. Why haven't we seen more from Republicans putting pressure on Democrats to potentially expel Senator Menendez, especially after what happened in the House last week where they expelled one of the members who had just been indicted? Or do you think that Senator Menendez, because he's not been convicted, deserves treatment to put on the court of law?
Well, I'll give you the same answer I did the last time you asked me. I'm glad he's not a Republican.
But do you think there should be, has there been a new precedent here?
This
Why would
is
Republicans put pressure?
an internal problem with the majority. He obviously has some external problems And I'll leave it up to the majority leader to decide how to deal with it. Alex?
Leader McConnell, what do you think of Leader Schumer's new proposal that you would bring the president's foreign aid package to the floor, combine it with the Fentanyl Act that passed at the Banking Committee, and then you would let Republicans have the First Amendment on border security? Is that enough to get you to vote for a motion to proceed?
60 vote threshold.
They don't want to deal with border security in the context of the supplemental. We do, because we know that will guarantee an outcome. Because the other parts of the supplemental, almost all of my members support. I certainly have been an aggressive supporter of it. We want it to actually happen. And this is an opportunity. Honestly, if I were the president, looking at my numbers on this, I'd want to do something about it. It might actually improve his position.
Leader McConnell.
What's your reaction to Senator Tuberville lifting his holds on military promotions? Are you encouraging him not to go down that road again in the future?
Well, we're pleased, obviously, that that situation seems to have been ameliorated by recent announcements by the senator from Alabama. Thank you.